Hi, I'm now on to the top 12 when it comes to my Code Geass character ranking. In 12th place is Jeremiah Godwald, a very entertaining character. I think that he's one of the fan favorite characters, particularly when it comes to supporting characters, which I think is understandable. Very charismatic, enjoyable, the cool character that really adds a lot. A character that can be antagonistic at times, but be likable at times. Uh, he's one of the more fun characters in Code Geass and a very cool character. I really enjoy what he brought to the show. In 11th place is Cecile. Not a character that gets super involved in the main plot, but a delightfully likable character. One of the more lovable characters in Code Geass. Has a great dynamic with other characters. Brings some comic relief without feeling like a super comedic character. She's incredibly sweet and is pretty delightful to have around in a lot of Code Geass, and as a character I feel like could be removed from the plot in a lot of instances, but I feel so glad that she is there. I do feel like she brings some nice heart to the show. In 10th place is Prince Schneisel, a fantastic villain in Code Geass. One of the biggest villains in the show that got some interesting stuff to do in season 1, but he really got to shine in season 2, where he did lots of really bad stuff and is a character that has a lot of nuance, where he can be very charming. He can have somewhat understandable reasons for what he's doing, but does very bad things, and is one of the most misguided characters in Code Geass, but is filled with enough nuance to make him avoid being a flat, boringly one dimensional villain. There's so much to him. He moves the plot around in so many different ways, and he is so important for what goes on. In ninth place, Detard Reed, a fantastic supporting character that is hilarious, and he is really interesting. I love the idea of having a villain in the Black Knights, where the Black Knights consist of a lot of people that are doing misguided things, but almost all of them have at least some redeeming qualities, where Detard often feels like the big villain on the team. And he does bring up some good points to Zero once in a while, and he can be somewhat logical, but a lot of time Reed's motivations are very selfish, misguided, and he has a very petty obsession with Zero and wanting to document him, and it's very entertaining to watch, and I love him, and he is incredibly fascinating. In eighth place is Anya Allstream, a character that at first feels in the background, not doing a whole lot. She has some fun moments where she has a deadpan sort of appearance to her. But as the show goes on, a lot of is revealed about her that makes her far more interesting and far more important. And she is actually one of the most sympathetic, likable characters and one of the more innocent characters in Code Geass, and that could really not seem to be the case at first. At first, she could seem like a character that's kind of just being a little grumpy and doesn't have a lot of passion, but I feel like she is worth giving a chance to not just think like, oh, she's a boring character. There's so much more to her. She is amazing. If anything, I wish she got even more to do, but what she got, amazing. In seventh place, Colin Stotfeld, a fantastic character, incredible backstory, amazing interactions with other characters. She is so consistently cool. She has so many amazing moments in the show where she really gets to shine. She has lots of episodes that she's heavily involved in. She is so fantastic. She gets a little sidelined around the middle of season 2, and that's really the only bad thing I can think about her, because she is spectacular. In sixth place is C2, another really fantastic character that is incredibly mysterious, and so much is revealed about her. She and Lelouch have such an amazing dynamic, one of the best duos. C2 is tragic, incredibly sympathetic, deeply nuanced, and at times oddly cute and funny. There's so much to her as a character. Uh, Early on in the show, it felt like she wasn't getting a lot to do, but then afterwards, it felt like she was one of the most important characters, and I love her a lot. In fifth place, Princess Cornelia. Such a cool villain. Such a great presence. Very nuanced villain that can be incredibly villainous, intimidating, a great threat to Lelouch, but also deeply sympathetic and at times more likable than some of the protagonists. Deeply fascinating character. There's so much to her. I love her design. I love how cool she is. She is absolutely incredible. Deeply love her. In fourth place is Emperor Charles, and I think a lot of Code Geass fans don't like Emperor Charles very much, which is definitely fair. He's not a very nice person, but he is a great main antagonist for the story, a great arch enemy for Lelouch. A character that actually has a lot more nuance than I was expecting. Because at first he seems to be the one-dimensionally evil, close-minded sort of villain. And he certainly has a lot of enjoyably over-the-top villain moments. He has a very overdramatic way of speaking. He is incredibly entertaining. His backstory is fascinating, and his motivations are very interesting. And it's fascinating to learn how somebody that is so evil comes from, to see in his mind what he thinks is somewhat understandable. And I feel like there's so much to explore about his messed up morality that is very interesting, because he is not quite pure evil. He certainly has moments where he comes across that way, but overall he does have at least somewhat sympathetic motivations. He's definitely a villain, one of the evilest, most selfish, most misguided characters in the show, but there's enough nuance to make him endlessly fascinating, in my opinion. In third place is Lelouch Lamperouche, who I think most people would have at number one. He's one of the greatest protagonists of all time, one of the most interesting, cool protagonists that there's ever been. Such a complicated character that can sometimes feel like a hero, other times feel like a villain. It's so interesting to explore him and to see the good stuff he does, the bad stuff, the stuff that I feel iffy about. There's so much to him that I love exploring. He is one of the best characters. And I feel like a lot of people can make really good arguments for why he should be number one. And if we were going for like objective best and stuff like that, I could potentially see that. It is hard to be objective about who's the best character in a show, but I think there are good arguments that could be made. He's not quite number one for me, but definitely one of the greatest characters in anime. Love him a lot. In second place, Professor Earl Lloyd Asplund, the greatest comedy relief in all of fiction, in my opinion. There are a lot of comedy reliefs that are annoying and get in the way, but there's also Lloyd Asplund, who I think should be a definitive example for how to do a great comedy relief. Um, since Suzaku works for him, he does have a reason to be there, and he does occasionally get moments that feel like are there for a little bit of comedy relief, but don't take up too much screen time. He is absolutely hilarious, but he also does feel like a character. He has personality and opinions, and is not just a character that's like, I'm making jokes. There's so much more to him than that. But when it comes to the jokes he does make, he's hilarious. I'm going by the English dub. That's what I listen to when I watch Code Geass. I think Lloyd has one of the most delightful voices of a fictional character. His voice just feels magical to my ears. I love the sound of his voice. He is so endlessly charming. He has such spectacular design. He is so entertaining. He is absolutely incredible. I wish he was more involved in the plot, but even as just a supporting character, he is one of the very best characters and one of my absolute favorites. And then number one is Shirley Finetti. And there are a lot of characters in Code Geass that I considered for the number one spot. There's a lot of characters that there's a good argument for. And why I went for Shirley is going by personal preference and how I feel in my heart, where it's definitely understandable how people could think Lelouch is a more interesting character and People could be saying Art Suzaku, C2, Colin. I understand all that. Quite simply, Shirley is possibly the most adorable character in anime, one of the most adorable characters in all of fiction. The character that I feel the most passionate in my feelings towards, the big character that I don't want to see anything bad happen to. And some bad things do happen to her, which do break my heart, but Shirley is one of the most lovable characters in all fiction, one of the primary characters that's pulled on my heartstrings the most, and a character who simply thinking about her brings me happiness, brings me comfort, just one of the very most best characters, one of the most lovable characters, one of the greatest anime characters of all time, one of the greatest characters in general of all time, in my personal opinion. I adore her with all my heart. Um, she does feel like a character that probably fit more in a slice of life sort of anime than Code Geass, but even I could throw out a bunch of things logically about why Shirley could seem like not the best character, but to me, she's the best. And feel free to let me know what you think of my ranking.